How are you doing? And thank you for joining us. We're here with Ervin BluePrint Parker, and hopefully you saw our first segment that was sort of getting in the game with BluePrint Parker, getting to meet him. He introduced himself and told us some great stories about his upbringing. And today we're really going to get into, I guess, the meat of his message. He runs the BluePrint Academy, and it's all about leadership and success. And he's going to tell us the 10 principles that he has for success and becoming a good leader. And BluePrint is from Georgetown County. He's a native here, but he had a very successful college career, an All-American right up the road at South Carolina State University. And then he went and played 9 years in the NFL level for the Buffalo Bills, the San Diego Chargers, and the Seattle Seahawks. And he's come back home and has done amazing work here, lots of charity work, and started this BluePrint Academy for Leadership. And so we're thrilled to have him back with us today to talk about those 10 principles with us and share some more life stories and stories about all the people he's met across the United States and really, I guess, around the world. So welcome back, BluePrint.
Well, first of all, Dave, I want to thank you for being here today. And Heather, I had such a good time the other day with this, and just was bragging about you guys. I've done a lot of different shows in my life. I used to have my own sports talk show, Close Up with BluePrint in Seattle. But yesterday, I got to share this with you. Yesterday, we had our championship for the Flag Football League that I've been sponsoring and been behind for kids 5, 6, 7, and 8. And it was just so much fun. But you know what was so amazing to me, like I was telling Heather before we got started, to see all the grandmoms and grandpops and parents that were out there and such a nice mixture of people. I was blown away. So naturally, I was going to feed everybody pizza, and that's what I did. And so they said they didn't have to worry about cooking dinner. So we had our championship, and everybody was happy. So we're moving on to next year. But when you talk about the 10 principles for success, Dave, I think one of the things that I do is I elaborate on our 10 principles for success better than anything else. So what I'll ask you to do is you read the short version of attitude, and then I'll elaborate on it for our viewers, and then they'll understand exactly what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. And so 10 principles of success from BluePrint Parker, and he got that name initially, we said last time, college coach.
Coach Carson, James Carson.
At South Carolina State.
Yeah. Former defensive coordinator, and he was. Then he went on to Jackson State and was the head coach at his alma mater. Yeah.
But this youngster, freshman, refused to redshirt and didn't need to.
Wasn't going to take redshirt unless I redshirt me. Yeah. Told Coach Jeffrey, if you're going to redshirt me, I'm going on the road I got some other opportunities. And he says, I never had nobody talk to me like that. He says, my mom said, well, he knows what he wants to do with his life. And that's the way we raised him. And he gave me an opportunity to show my skills. And that's when he came up with the name. He says, I've been talking to the coaches, and we've got over 100 years experience, all of us collectively. But we've never seen nobody that be sending so many people to the trainer and be moving, which I was able to take the quarterback and the pitch guy, if any people know about what the option is in college or high school. And unfortunately, I was sending people to the trainer, which I didn't want to do that, but I was trying to get a job. Yeah. So why don't you kick us off?
You blueprint them up, but that blueprint now has become a blueprint.
The BluePrint Leadership Academy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a way that we try to structure things that help young men and young ladies. And one of the first things we do when we go to a school, a church, or anywhere that we're doing an event, we talk about the 10 principles for success. That's how we lead it off. And normally I have 5 young ladies and 5 young men, and I have them to pick one of these principles, and they read it, and then I iterate with them and elaborate on what my substance and how I bring more substance to the BluePrint Leadership Academy. And then that way you could use it in your family or in your life.
And so principle number 1, attitude And you talked a little about attitude last time, but a positive attitude will change your life. Attitude.
Well, I think attitude is actually one of the biggest things that we're dealing with, especially right now, dealing with a pandemic that we've been, dealing with, is everybody being locked up in the house, families, everybody not being able to do the things that you want to do. So like I tell people, these young men and adults, is that the way that you receive when somebody do something negative with you, or the way that you receive or respond is based on your attitude. So if I look at what you say to me in a negative, then I'm going to respond in a bad attitude way. So I says it's the way that you receive it and the way you respond to it. So I tell most young men and young ladies, take about 3 deep breaths before you respond to a situation or an occurrence of somebody made a push you, somebody said something to you didn't like. I promise you, the way that you receive it and the way you respond is going to be based on your attitude. Take 3 deep breaths and move on to the next one.
Yeah. Your coach in high school, you were basically cut from the team initially in ninth grade. And you could have said...
Made me the water boy.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to be honest with you. We know how people are, and I know right now today, and I've talked to a lot of people. Matter of fact, I was talking to some of the parents yesterday about it and coaches at the flag football. And, this coach said to me, he says, you mean to tell me you was cut in the 9th grade and they made you the water boy? And what was so special to me yesterday is the fact that they played the championship on my high school field.
Wow. That
I got started on. And that field now is awesome. I was telling you that as I was walking around and talking to different people I hadn't seen in a long time. I said, I can't believe this feels like it's like a carpet. When I was playing out there, that field was like, it had grass grow over there, red clay over there. We used to be so bruised up. I mean, so, it's amazing how far they have come.
Yeah. And so the attitude, staying steady with your attitude.
And my attitude was if I be the water boy, then I could stick around the team. I could travel with the team, which I wouldn't have not been able to travel with the team if I didn't take the water boy job, so say. I could go in the weight room and work out while the team was practicing to help me to get a little bigger, a little stronger. And that's what I did. So I received it as a positive, not as a negative, which would have been a bad attitude.
Yeah. So really, the attitude, the situation didn't transform you. You transformed the situation with that attitude. That's
very important. That attitude is very important. I don't care what you do in life. It don't necessarily have to be sports. I mean, if you work a job, you married, or you're in a relationship, you got to be able to listen and before you decide to respond negatively to something that you think is negative, just think about it.
And there are 9 other principles we're going to work through, but it almost seems you start with attitude.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the right attitude,
you ain't going too far in life.
The other 9, you're not going to get to those other 9. It's almost like.
Let's face it like this. If you got a bad attitude, people don't want you around. I mean, if you start dating a young lady or you start dating a young man, and all of a sudden you introduce them to 1 or 2 of your friends, and they say, she's got such a bad attitude. The first thing you're going to say, you don't need to be around her, or you don't need to be around him.
All right. So attitude matters, and adjusting your attitude, keeping it in the right
Absolutely.
frame of mind.
Don't make it all about you. That's what it all boils down to. I've been very blessed where I don't have to be the center of attraction. Even with the BluePrint Leadership Academy, I was the founder and the president, and anybody that's worked with me, matter of fact, I got a picture over there of my staff, they'll tell you that I was always about us. I might be the guy that signs the check, I might be, my name is on the paperwork, but if you got a problem, I got a problem. And it's not about me, it's about us.
And that might move us, and I think all of these principles, these 10 principles of success, they're all interrelated interconnected.
Yeah.
And I think what you just said, attitude connects to principle number 2, respect. By respecting others, you learn to respect yourself and understand how important it is to consider other people's feelings. So respecting others.
That is so crucial because, you got, especially now when you see what's going on, with the media outlet being as big as it is and it's 24/7. I'm very proud to say that I have never in my athletic career or my business career disrespect nobody. Even when I didn't get along with I didn't like what they were saying, I didn't agree with what they were saying because they're entitled to their opinion. I never degrade my opponent. I remember when I was getting ready to play in the Gold Bowl, and they had the banquet the night before the Gold Bowl with the people who have gotten awards for the MEAC, which is the Mideast and Atlantic Coast Conference. And this gentleman, LaRue Harrington, was a running back at Norfolk State. We were playing Norfolk State in the Gold Bowl, and he was top 5 running back, getting ready to get drafted in the NFL. He was running for like 200 yards plus a game, and he was legit. And anyway, they interviewed him at the banquet, and they says, well, LaRue, you're offensive player of the year of that conference, and da-da-da-da-da, you're one of the best running backs, you're going to be getting drafted. He says, but South Carolina State has an All-American middle linebacker, and they got the best run defense in the country. What are you going to do about Ervin BluePrint Parker being that middle linebacker? And he said, Ervin, who? Who's that? He said, well, you don't know who Ervin BluePrint Parker? He's the All-American middle linebacker that you're definitely going to get to know. If you don't know him, you're going to get to know him. And he says, I'm gonna run for 200 yards. You're gonna be seeing my feet stepping on his chest as I'm running down the field. And so he says, they said, the reporter that was asking questions, they said, no, nobody's been able to do that. And Ervin is definitely no joke. He's gonna be going in the draft in April, and you're gonna be going in the draft too. But you said you're gonna run for 200 yards on the Bulldog defense? Nobody's run for 100 yards on them, or even 50. We've shut out 5 to 4 teams every year, and you're gonna run over Ervin BluePrint Parker. And he said, oh yeah. He says, just wait and see. So anyway, I was brought up next. And if I'm always respect my opponent, never gonna go sideways. And I got up and I said, first of all, I thank the Coca-Cola for being the sponsor of the Gold Bowl. And I'm very honored to I was MEAC Defensive Player of the Year. Thank Kodak for being their All-American middle linebacker. And I want to thank my teammates, coaching staff, and all of my fans. I said, I want to thank you if whoever make it up here tomorrow for the Gold Bowl. And I'm respecting Norfolk, looking forward to playing against them, their head coach. I know him personally, and I'm looking forward to a good game. And then the guy says to me, he says, but Ervin, LaRue just got up and said that he's going to run over you in the Bulldogs defense. And I said, let me tell you something about me. Y'all know me, y'all follow my career. What I do speaks so well, I ain't got to talk about it. But I promise you, LaRue, all you got to do is show up and you have more pain tomorrow than you ever imagined. I promise you that, okay? Just show up, and I promise you, you will have pain, more pain than you ever had. Okay? Now I'm letting you know that in advance. Okay? So you need to take a bunch of Tylenol pain pill because you're gonna have some pain. And so the next day, I was very upset, to be honest with you, because nobody never disrespect me in my presence before. I've had teams that put out boundaries on me. On the board, we go there, the team they put up money to put me out of the game. Wow. Oh yeah, but I understood that. That came a part of being who I was and how I established myself as a football player. But I had a good team around me, and that night I probably slept 2 hours. But the next day, when we got out there, we went out there, flipped the coins, and boom. I didn't even go out there when they flipped the coin. I told Nate, you go ahead on out there because and he was one of the guys you had to shake his hand. So I didn't want to shake his hand because now I'm at a point mentally, I don't like the way his uniform look. I don't like the way he's walking. I don't like the way his socks fit on his leg. I'm in a rage. I'm just telling you, I'm in a rage. And we got out there. It was the second series of the game. I knocked him out. Okay, on a sweep. I knocked him out, and when I knocked him out, he had planted his left leg to turn up. And when I hit him, he broke his leg. I didn't want to break his leg, don't get me wrong, I never want to hurt nobody, but I knocked him out and broke his leg. And I didn't know I'd broke his leg, I didn't know I'd knocked him out. But I'm at a rage, because I'm at a rage. So then all of a sudden they got, he's on the ground, he's on the turf rather, he's wilding all over the turf, and comes back to my huddle, and my teammates was pissed because the way that he disrespected their leader, which I was their leader, and they goes, yeah, we ain't gonna worry about seeing him no more today. He's out. And anyway, but I tell people it's not about violence, but it's all about respect. I never disrespect nobody in business or in sports. That's the only time in my life that I was disrespect in front of the media.
Yeah.
Say, Ervin Parker, who? Ervin BluePrint, who? But unfortunately, I'm gonna tell you what happened though. He didn't get drafted until like the 5th or the 6th round. He went from being a 1st or 2nd round pick to a 5th or 6th round. But you know what I did? After the game, he was in the hospital. I went to the hospital and paid my respect. And I told him, I didn't try to hurt you on purpose. He said, I know. He said, when I planted, you just happened to be, coming on the off tackle hole, and I hit him, and he broke his leg and got knocked out, But he said, but ever since then, we've been friends. Yeah.
So it ended up well at the end of the thing, but...
Absolutely. And when I got to the hospital, his family was there, his mom, his dad, his coach, his girlfriend, and they were just blown away when they saw me. And matter of fact, I was with a couple of my sisters and my mom. And they were downstairs because we wasn't allowed to come up, but they was in the waiting room, and they had never met his people. So all of a sudden they says, so who are you? He says, I'm BluePrint's mom, I'm BluePrint's sister, I'm BluePrint's brother, I'm BluePrint's brother-in-law. And he says, so why are you guys here? Somebody in the hospital? I said, no, Ervin came to pay his respect to LaRue. He didn't, that's the way we roll. We gonna support him, and because we were getting ready to go out to have dinner, but he says, I gotta go by the hospital first. And they all of a sudden they got collaborating together and exchanged numbers and stuff, and so I always tell people, you'd be surprised what comes around when you respect people, and when they give you a disrespect, like my Coach Goodwin used to say, when they give you a disrespect body language, you ever heard of that one? A disrespect body language. Don't let that body language make you disrespect them with a disrespect body language. That's like somebody, they give you a sign, you know what I'm saying? A body language. So I've learned a lot from that respect.
And you say by respecting others, you learn to respect yourself. So it's about, you have to have that, you learn your self-respect too.
That's critical.
And so it's both connected. You respect yourself to respect the other person.
Yeah, but one of the things that you got to realize too, and I tell people this a lot, you can't dictate that person for that person respecting you. Right. If they don't respect you, that's in their boundary. You can't worry about that. A lot of people go around worrying about, they don't respect me. It's one thing that I was glad that my dad used to always tell me when I was growing up. If you're worrying about what people think of you, you don't need to even get started. So, because there are going to be some people that envy you. There are going to be some people that don't like you because of the way you look. There are going to be some people that just got a problem. And like my mama used to say, listen, they got people who disrespect Jesus Christ, so who are you and me? So you cannot worry about if that person don't respect you. You still stand higher, just like Michelle Obama would say. You go high, I go low. And I'm glad about that because The last time I was in a physical confrontation with anybody was I was in the 9th grade when I was the water boy. Because what happened is I turned the water over getting off the bus, me and Harold. And then one of the guys on the team called me a bad name. I said, "You call me what?" And I was like, even though he was bigger than me or whatever, but we tried to get this water off and it slipped and boof. And he called me a bad name. So that's the last time I was in an altercation where I was getting ready to take blah, 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 because, but if I look at it and the coach says, "You should have kicked his butt." I says, "No, I didn't kick his butt, but I was just letting them know we were trying to do the best we can. Now we got to go get hot water out of the water faucet."
So you mentioned Jesus, but that idea of love your neighbor as yourself is kind of a similar thing. You respect others because you respect yourself.
Absolutely.
So that's a great one, and it comes from that positive attitude too towards life and towards yourself and towards others. All right. So principle 3, honesty, doing what is right even if it is not popular. Honesty.
Oh, this one is so serious because you got so many young men and young ladies that tell lies to fit in and want to be a part of a group. And if they don't do certain things, just like I didn't realize that the young men recruit young men, the women recruit women. And once you get in that clique, you sometimes have to tell lies. And if you don't do what they want you to do, then naturally you're not going to be popular to them. So then you're going to feel like the black sheep because you did not go along. It's kind of like Miss Cheney with getting voted down in the House yesterday because she did not go along with the big lie, and they're basically voting her out. But one of the things that she has is so much integrity, and I commend her 100% because when I was in the 5th grade, I got suspended. I was the only kid in elementary school that got suspended. You know why?
No.
Because the instructor thought that I said something, and it was the guy, my buddy, Lonnie Ford, that was sitting behind me. He said it. And so the teacher comes over to me. He goes, "Get up, come on, you out of here." And I go, "What?" And they get out of there, and they take me to our principal at the time, which is a legendary principal. Everybody remembers her, was Marta Squires. She was like, "Ooh." So I go, he takes me to Miss Squires' office, and I'm sitting there in the waiting room, and Mrs. Barkers, not Miss Barkers, Mrs. Palmer, Aretha Palmer was her personal secretary. And she and my brother used to be boyfriend, girlfriend years ago, before she went to college. And she goes, "What did you do?" I said, "Nothing." She said, "No, they ain't gonna just bring you in and you ain't do nothing." And so he goes in and tells Miss Quies that I used the profanity. And I didn't do the profanity. I told Miss Quies, he never asked me did I say that. He just got up and came and got me and told me, "You're out of here," and brought me over here. And when Miss Quies said, well, if you didn't use the profanity, who did? And I didn't want to tell on Lonnie Ford, because Lonnie Ford had just came from New York. And his brother used to run the biggest gang in New York, Brownsville, Brooklyn, called the Tomahawks, which was on national TV, and everybody was afraid of Lonnie Ford because he carried a little pistol every day. And this is in the 5th grade.
Wow, yeah.
So she said, "Tell me who it was." I said, "Wasn't me, but I can't tell you." So I had to tell a lie because I was afraid, because he had just came from New York, and we knew that his brother was the leader of the Tomahawks, which they were in Brownsville, Brooklyn, which wasn't no joke during that time. That was back in like 1970, 72, 71. So, hey, I would tell anybody, if you got to tell a lie to fit in, don't. always tell the truth, you know. And it's kind of like my daddy would say, if you gotta sugarcoat it, is it worth it to you?
So doing the right thing, do what is right, even if it's not popular. Doing the right thing because it's the right thing, and that's,
Exactly.
that is, it's very unpopular nowadays, and with social media, with kids and everything, there's so much invention and fake, you know, just trying to fit in, faking things.
You know, people now, they don't realize, you know, I've known of some young men and young ladies that's committed suicide.
Oh yeah.
For being bullied and not going along with things that other people want them to do.
Yeah.
You know, and I had a first cousin that hung himself a while back because he didn't go along with some things that some of his friends wanted him to do, and hung himself right there in the storage room. And never forget that. And that's when I really found out about, you know, I knew about bullying when I got bullied, but my bullying was never to the point where I got bullied to that point, because if my bullying would have stopped, all I had to do was tell my daddy, because everybody was in my whole community feared my daddy, okay? You know, you didn't mess around with his daughters, his family, but the guy who was bullying me, his dad was one of my dad's best friend. So I didn't want to start confusion, you know, because he was bullying me for my lunch money or whatever. So I never told my dad, because if I had told my dad he was bullying me, my dad would have went, get in the car. We're going straight to Ben's house right now. Ben, where's Mammy? Come here, Mammy. You know, that's the way my dad was. So he was a nonsense kind of guy. So I tell people, if you got something, if you don't have nothing good to say, then don't say nothing at all.
Well, and that might take us into principle number 4, you know, being honest, doing the right thing, even when it's not popular, saying the right things. But faith is principle number 4, believing what you hope will come true, having the faith that things will work out if you make that unpopular decision to do what is right. Yeah, it puts you out there on the edge, you kind of feel like you're exposed, but then principle number 4, faith, believing what you hope will come true. Why is faith so important?
Because when I look at my life and where I came from the young man that was getting up and making fire in the wood heater with little lightwood. You probably wouldn't know what lightwood is unless you had to start fire. Lightwood was a type of wood that you start the fire with. You know, you just can't put the wood in there and start a fire. You got to put a little bit of lightwood in there, and then put a little bit of another kind of wood on top of the lightwood. Then the lightwood would start. But basically, it's kind of like I used to pray to God every day to grow. I'm serious, so I could defend myself. And then I realized that if I pray about certain things, because I was born and raised in a very Christian family with my mom. My dad was not. My dad was Christian in his own way, you know, and we never, hit him for that or knock him for that. But I came from a family that believe in things that you can't really see, but you got to keep your faith because you believe in a higher power. And just like with my sister, I remember when she used to be praying and, about going to medical school and getting out of there and and being able to get a scholarship, and she got an academic scholarship. She was valedictorian because, I would hear her praying and my mom would be praying. So when it got to a point where about believing in things even when you can't see it, but then when I saw where my sister, all of a sudden she's valedictorian, she's going to college, she's the first person to get an academic scholarship. And then, my other sisters, they get nursing scholarships, they're going to school in New York, and they're going to be RN nurses. So all of a sudden, I start seeing, and then, I got to tell you this one, in 1975, we got a brick house built with running water, bathroom, man, hello? thermometer on the wall to cut the heater on. I ain't got to get up and put no fire in that wood heater. I ain't never seen a wood heater. When I saw a wood heater after that, I ain't want to look at it. I turned my head. So when you talk about faith, we went from the outhouse, not to the penthouse, but to the brick house. You know, with a car garage. Man, listen, we had a barrel beside the house for when it rains, you get fresh water. Otherwise, you got to go to the well or the pump. So my faith was about believing in things that you don't even see. But when I started seeing things happen with my other siblings older than me, I said, wow, this is really happening.
And the things, I just keep seeing all these connections between the dots here, the principles that you could see a lot of, if you didn't have that faith, you could see a lot of negative things happen. I've got to work in the cropping tobacco. I've got to, have a hard life. I've got to get up every morning and make these fires. I've got to, it's a hard life. I got cut from the football team. All this negative. But with the positive attitude, you're looking for the hopeful things,
the good out of it,
faithful. You're always looking for the good things, and you're treating other people with respect. So you're looking on the good side of things, and if you're honest, if you have that faith, it's going to be okay. You have a deeper sense that it'll be all right.
Because, I tell young men and young ladies and people that I know that are going through things, I say, look at it like this. For every negative, there's something positive in it. But you got to believe in that.
Yeah.
For every negative situation, there's something you're going to learn or something you're going to experience and a positive out of there. Yeah. I don't care how bad it is. Now, unless you on drugs or you're not in control of yourself, then that doesn't that doesn't work out like that. Like I've seen some people that harm some people and for no reason. Okay, you're going to rob this person, so why are you going to shoot this person? Why are you going to kill the person? Because you're not rob him for 50 cents or whatever. But I think that it's like when I look at the situations in my life where I've kind of went against some things that my mom would tell me, and it turned out not to be what I wanted to be. And then I said, oh my God, I should have listened to what Mama told me. So out of every bad situation, there's good in it. My mom used to always tell me, listen, as long as you learn from it, you got to learn from it.
Okay.
You got to learn from it.
It's a learning. If there's something, there's.
It's a process.
There's tough stuff.
Life is a process.
Yeah.
You don't go from your mama's womb to walking. You go to crawling around, to holding on to things, and all of a sudden you start walking. So life is a process. Like, yesterday, I was meeting some of these young kids and, and they was Googling me on their phone and, and they says, oh, Mr. BluePrint really playing the NFL. Mr. BluePrint is real. And they're like, can I touch you, Mr. BluePrint? I said, yeah. He said, that's what, it was like, you talking about little kids that are like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and a few some 10. Then there was some older guys out there that played football. But, I just think that it starts with you and the way you're being raised. And when you're going through some real hard adversity, you got to put together a game plan and move forward. I'm dealing with that right now with my son. My son is 28, and I said, listen, you graduated out of high school with an academic scholarship. Since then, 10 years ago, you've not finished anything. You think I'm proud of that? He's my son. He's the only son I have. I don't have a daughter. I says, in order for us to have the kind of relationship that a father and son need to have, you got to take care of certain things you need to take care of in you. You can't be calling me, not responding to me because you in Portland and you smoking weed. If you can't handle weed, don't smoke weed. I know people that smoke weed that are very successful. But if you can't handle certain things, then don't do it. I never was with a group of people where I said, oh, I'm going to do this just because I'm hanging out with them. No. If I'd have did that, I would have experienced that, this and that, but I knew where I was trying to go, and I tell them, listen, I got to go to the bathroom, and I'm gone. I'm serious. Even when I was in high school. I said, y'all excuse me for a minute, I got to go to the bathroom. Hey, they don't see me. I'm gone. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Not giving, again, that honesty, not giving in to the crowd, not just doing it because that's not who you are.
I'm not following. My dad told me, you get in trouble because somebody's got you in trouble, I'm going to leave you right there. Now, if you get in trouble because you made a bad choice or decision, I'm coming and got your back. And that's the way I've lived, and when I look at, it's like my sisters, and they tell me all the time, they says, I don't want you feeling guilty because your son is struggling with certain things because you have been there for him, gave him more opportunities to do things than he had opportunities after opportunity. He could have been in the NBA, he could have been doing this, he could have been doing it. It's kind of like, I told him, I said, it's kind of like you got to decide on what you want to do for yourself. And I said, you at a point in your life now where, you got more life ahead of you than you have behind you. So, it's time for you to make some major decisions on yourself.
Yeah, so that, and that might be, shift us to principle 5, perhaps with courage. Life does, we get adversity, we get tough things ahead of us, things that make us afraid, being afraid, but doing something in spite of fear. So that's courage. And that's principle number 5. And they're all kind of building up: attitude, respect, honesty, faith, and now courage. So, living is learning. Life is a process. It's a learning process. It's not, nobody said it was all easy and it's not all roses. There's some thorns, but courage helps us deal with that.
Yeah, and that's something that I tell parents all the time. I said, the sooner, you tell your son and daughter and they realize that the things they really do in life is going to affect them. Yeah, you could be unhappy with some things that they do if it's not right, if they're not making the type of grades. But the sooner they realize that the things they do is truly going to affect them, because they got their own Social Security number, not you. They can't use yours. So when I tell them all the time, the sooner you realize that, the better off you're going to be, because then you're going to change some things in your life. You're going to change some things, and you're not going to be afraid to step out on faith, because you believe in yourself. You don't have low self-esteem, which so many young ladies and young men have. And so many moms and dads that I've dealt with over the years, they're too concerned about being a son or daughter friend instead of their parent. And that's where they go wrong. That's why this young man or young lady goes through things later on in life at a later age than sooner, because you are too much afraid to worry about, I don't want my son, I don't want my daughter upset with me, because you got to stand strong on the things the values that is going to take your son or daughter to the level of life you want them to go to. You cannot let it be where you're walking on eggshell around them, okay? If I'm going to take your phone away from you for a week or two, like I remember when my son was living with me, he was on the national beta academic for high school when he was living with me, okay? Yeah. And you know what I had to do? I had to get the TV, took the TV out of the room, the video game, put it all around there, put it out, lock it up. Yeah. I said, during the week, you're not watching no TV, you're not playing no video game. Once you get to Sunday night, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're not playing no video game. If you want to watch a little bit of TV, you come and watch TV with me and your grandma, okay? And then you going to bed, you're going to do your homework, you got stuff. He was on a national beta. We over there in Myrtle Beach Convention Center competing with kids from all over the state, because he had structure, he had discipline, and I wasn't trying to be his friend. You know what he said to me? Oh, you're mad. You're a madman. I said, how do you mean I'm a madman? I'm going to live with my mom and my stepdad. I said, well, son, there's one thing, I'll tell you something. I know what it's like to be successful. I've done it. I've lived it. And if you don't have structure and discipline, and if you don't have courage to step outside the box, if I didn't have no courage to speak up to Coach Jeffrey, they'd have redshirted me. Who knows what would have happened to me? I mean, let's be real. They would have redshirted me. If I didn't have no courage, my mama didn't tell him, oh, you can't redshirt my son. She wasn't speaking for me. So the courage to do that, the courage to change position, they come to me and they say, we want to move you from outside linebacker to middle linebacker. I mean, at that time, I was like in the top 2 outside linebackers in the country. But now I'm going to a new position. Why? Because it was a challenge, and I had the courage to believe in myself to move forward. Because I wanted to help the team. I wasn't thinking about me. If I was just thinking about me, I would have just stayed on the outside, be less traffic, everybody running away from me. But now, I'm a middle linebacker where I could hit LaRue. You know, if I wasn't to play middle linebacker, I couldn't get LaRue.
He wishes you hadn't changed.
So I tell people, courage is a form of success. Courage is a form of success. And let me tell a lot of people what success is, because a lot of people get success the wrong way. Success is when you can take care of your livelihood, your overhead, pay your taxes, and when you want to go home to visit your mom and dad, you don't have to call them to tell them to send you no money. That's what success is. When you can take care of your livelihood, your overhead, and you're paying your taxes, and when you want to come home, you don't have to call mom and dad and say, Mom, can you send me a MoneyGram? Could you wire me some money? And here you are, a grown man or a grown lady. Now, if you're in school, that's different. But success is once that young man or young lady has moved on from college and got a job, and it's like right now, I got a niece that's been struggling. And she is a dentist. She owned her own business for 7 or 8 years. Now, she should have never opened up that business because my sister had a business in Kentucky that was one of the most successful dental business in Lexington, Kentucky. She had a contract with the University of Kentucky Athletic Department. Now, why you want to go to Atlanta and open up a dental business in Atlanta, and your mama got one of the most successful dental business here in Kentucky, and she wants to get rid of it in about 6, 7, 8 years, and she owns the whole building, but you want to go to Atlanta and open up a dental business. Now, I give her a lot of respect because she had the courage to step out. But there's a lot of things about, just like I tell my sister and her husband all the time. I says, I'm not going to support certain things when I know it's not right. Because you broke your butt to build that business. And one of the reasons you broke your butt to build it because you were hoping one day one of your daughters would take it over. And she went to be a dentist, but also she wanted to be in Atlanta. So I told her, you need to be more firm on that one. Because sometimes you're proud of what they're doing, but you have to do like they go make a line in the sand that's firm, which they might not like it, even though they're grown.
What you're saying, first of all, it takes a ton of courage to be a good parent, a disciplined parent, and it takes courage to gain that independence as a kid, to a child becoming a real person. But that's important. But you're also saying that courage isn't just, it's not being crazy, just throwing caution to the wind.
No.
It's measured. It's measured courage. It's disciplined courage. You got to know the decision. It's meeting challenges that are real challenges and having the courage to face them and come through them.
Well, I'll tell you a good one, and this one is dealing with sports. Okay, for example, when the Super Bowl would play New England in the Super Bowl, Seahawks would play New England in the Super Bowl, and they called a passing play for Wilson because him and Beckett, the offensive coordinator, were buddies. They had a close relationship. He didn't want Lynch to run it in because if he ran it in, he was going to be MVP. Now, if I'm Pete Carroll, the head coach, I'm calling a timeout, and I'm going to walk down there, and I want to say, what are you calling? And then if he says, I'm going to run a slant on the 4-yard line, and I got Lynch as my my running back that just ran, 6 yards to get there.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be throwing the ball with a quarterback that's not even 6 foot. The ball could get tipped. So many things could happen. So I tell Pete this when I see him, I've known him for a long time. He says, I let the coordinator do their job. I'm the head coach. But I said, when in a certain situation, you got to step in and say, hey, what are you doing? You running a what? Oh, no. Even if they'd called that play before they run, I'd run out on the field, call timeout.
Yeah, that's bad. That's just foolish bravado.
Even though you give the guy, you say, I totally give them responsibility to run the defense or run the offense. And then when you see what Brady just said, that comes back and says, you know what he says? He says, to have a perfect season, to be totally, when they lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl,
yes, that's right.
They went 18-1.
Yeah.
He says, I'll give back 2 Super Bowls to have that perfect season.
Wow.
And you know why he said that? Because he knew that was a gift from Seattle that they won the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And he knew that was a gift when they beat the Rams in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, because that guy was like a half an inch in the neutral zone. You don't call that in that situation. So basically, he knows there's 2 Super Bowls he's got. That's why he said, I'll give back to have a perfect season. So that courage is, as a parent and as a young man, as a young lady, stand firm on things that are realistic. But the ones that are not realistic, then you got to go the other way and not have that courage.
Okay. Yeah, and I think we'll see how all that will build that idea of courage with the principles that are coming up that we'll explore next time. But the principles 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, self-esteem, self-determination, accountability, education, and finally, at the very end, leadership, which is a really interesting placement for that. You don't start with leadership for this Leadership Academy.
No.
You go through 9. You got to earn your way up to leadership, which is that's really interesting. So we'll come back and we'll do this again and finish off these last 5 principles that all work together. And it's great stuff, great ideas, and great. It's a great blueprint for success and for folks, really for kids, but for all ages. And we really appreciate the stories as well that illustrate these. So these are terrific tales from one of our local celebrities and treasures, Ervin BluePrint Parker. Self-made success. Although you don't describe yourself that way.
Oh no.
It's all about other people, his family, his teachers, his coaches. So it's people along the way. He's always radiating out that success and the credit. But
not about me.
But we really appreciate you being here, and we're so thankful and looking forward to doing this again.
Absolutely, and I want to thank you and Heather, Dave, for just being the people that you guys are, and I'm just letting you know I'm just honored to build this relationship with y'all.
Thanks for being here, and thank you too to Heather Pelham out there making us look great and sound great.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.
Next time.